Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Albany County Social Service Committee of July the 25th. The previous business is, can you approve the previous minutes? Motion to second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, that's unanimous. Item number 1, we have Mr. Backery here this evening. Thank you for joining us. Authorizing agreement with the SUNY Center for Human Services research regarding a human services evaluation of county departments. Mr. Backery, please.
Yes, we're requesting approval of the contract with the Center for Human Services Research to develop a strategic plan for the equity agenda.
Strategic plan. Do you have a question?
I do.
Yeah, I saw your prompt. Go ahead, Mr. Simpson.
On this chart, could you tell me what the last two columns represent?
Which chart are you looking at?
The chart that says fund, depart, and line?
Those are the amount per department.
And the employees in that department.
So employees first? and
Yeah.
then-
Yeah.
Figured the best way to break it up is a pro rata share per employee per department.
Now, is there a way to get the background information on this study? Because I was trying to look at the links online. Was it more than just this?
The links on the background for where this came about.
Yeah.
There's on that page there is a significant amount of links.
Because I tried to get it online and it's not there anymore. Could you send that to us?
Yes, I can. And as recently as prior to this meeting, I accessed just before the appendix. I believe
Okay.
it's page 27 or so. Actually, it's the links are on page 21. But I did access those links, and there's quite a bit of.
Is it different from these?
I can't see that far, but
Oh, you don't have that.
Actually,
Yeah, it is. That's not.
So this is obsolete, in other words?
I remember you said you did send a request for the information.
Yeah, I
And the same
called
link
you.
I had to you, I forwarded to you, and it is
Okay,
contained.
so I have that?
Yeah, you do have that, and I can make sure everybody else has access to that also.
You can send a copy to us.
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much.
Could you just briefly, go ahead.
No, I just want to ask to make sure that I can look
You'll be next. Oh, you want a copy?
I guess we all should get it,
Go
right?
ahead.
Yeah, I'll make sure everybody here.
Let's send it to the body.
Yeah, the committee gets it.
Yeah, go there.
Could I just get a thumbnail sketch of what the intent, this is like a feasibility study for a plan to implement equity under a kind of Title VI configuration? Is that the idea?
Correct. So, I mean, definitely with the equity agenda, I mean, basically the equity agenda is looking at equality and fairness, and not only treating people with equality, but treating people with dignity. That's from providing services, that's the employees, and those receiving the services.
So, not having seen, what has been done up to this point, is the intent to do like a detailed training for management in order to be able to do this? In other words, to do this right is a significant commitment of resources if you're really going to do it. I mean, is that what's anticipated? I mean, what's the anticipated scope, or, I mean, I understand that they have to go and finish the initial study to determine that, but, there has to be a general target that we're, anticipating. Do we have a sense of that?
Well, it's going to be multiple phases in what was doing the research, so I think it actually goes in more depth. It's actually looking at the structure of each department and looking at the how each department communicates, the perceptions within that department, ways that we can improve services, not only just services, but how we can improve communication and empower the employees. So it is going to be an in-depth report.
I have to look at this and come back, because,
There's some wonderful material in here.
well, no, I mean, the organization, if they're attached to SUNY, I mean, I have full confidence in their capacity. It's just, I mean, you can have the best plane in the world, but if you give it to a drunk to drive, you're gonna have a wreck. I need to know, like, well, it's kind of premature, but I guess I'd like as much information as possible as to what we have up to this point.
Okay.
Oh, yes, Mr. Burke.
I don't know how to say this, but I don't even understand the jargon. When we talk about, oh, thank God, I'm not alone.
Hire me, I do that for a living.
To develop a strategic plan for the implementation of an equity agenda. Our employees expressed the belief that services of their agency are already targeting underserved populations, and then we're meeting equity goals. The feedback suggests a lack of understanding of equity principles. Can you, I guess I need a primer as to what we're doing and what the perceived shortfalls are, because from what's written here, maybe it's just me, but I don't really
I think we've
understand.
entertained something similar to this, but it was in human resources or personnel department, not so much just in social services. And it's not for clients per se, I think it's for employees, am I right about that? Employees giving their input on this strategic plan.
This portion of the phase
Yeah.
was about the employees, the employers, so the management as well, how they work. But it is designed to improve all services, not just to the employees, but to those receiving the services from each department. So the report that I will make sure that the body has later on does go in depth about some of the questions that you bring up.
And there's 23 departments that have been involved with this up to date, right?
Correct.
23, okay.
Is this the list, that the list?
That's the list that's attached on the back, yeah. Are there other questions?
I can talk to you
Mr.
later
Bullock,
on about
you have a
it.
question?
Okay, together.
What are you trying to do with this study? What's the
third time
main
that question's
purpose
been
of reclassifying these?
I believe there would be multiple goals for this agenda. One would be able to try to address issues we don't see. Subordinate brought up a point about providing the services and outreaching to communities where they already believe we're outreaching to. Where we might not understand that just because the program is set up in such a way to reach those who are poor or of a different social class, doesn't mean we're actually addressing that issue in a proper way. So this gives us the opportunity to look and see how actually we are providing those services. It also allows us to look within each department to say, how is that communication working? Do the employees have the right tools they need to provide these services? So it's a way to provide services on a more efficient and effective manner, which in the long term will save us time and money.
Okay, you don't know how you're gonna update it. Okay, thank you.
All right.
And you're gonna share some information to our office, and we'll make sure all the people, all the legislators get a copy, right?
Yeah, currently right now, I would say this is more like the discovery phase.
Okay, sounds good. All right then. Do I hear a motion? Motion, and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Thanks a lot for coming out, Mr. Mark, we appreciate it. Okay, number 2, authorizing agreement with the Island Peer Review Organization, Inc. regarding auditing service pertaining to Medicaid fraud, waste, and abuse control activities. This is also called IPRO. Thank you, Michelle. Good evening.
Good
Good to see
evening,
you.
Madam Chair and Committee.
Okay.
Yes, this is a request to renew an agreement with this auditing firm to conduct investigations regarding potential Medicaid noncompliance or Medicaid fraud of providers in the Medicaid program in Albany County. This is no county share, 50% federal reimbursement, 50% state reimbursement. Right now, we have 15 audits that are underway with IPRO to assess potential fraud that we have identified, potential providers that we have identified for them to look a little bit deeper into it. So that's kind of the way it works.
That's good. We all have heard the IPRO name for many years
Oh,
around
yes.
here, so it goes way back. Are there any questions about what they're intending to do here? Legislators, no comments? I hear a motion. Motion's been made, and I hear a second. And a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Hearing no opposition, it's unanimous. Okay, the next one is authorizing an agreement with Cornell Cooperative Extension regarding the Home Energy Assistance Program, the HEAP program. Michelle?
Yes, this is a contract, a memorandum with the Cornell Cooperative Extension to conduct our outreach, a little bit of education, enrollment of people in the Home Energy Assistance Program. They do a heavy lift for us in getting the word out about the HEAP program. They handle 55% of our walk-in client base is handled and 100% of our phone calls regarding HEAP. And then they also do satellite outreach during the HEAP season, and they have an office on Green Street and an office in Ravenna. So they're really out there in the community for us and getting people to fill out the application paperwork for the HEAP program.
This has always been such a good program. Wintertime, we love it. I knew Paul would have a question. Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, I wonder
Yes.
if you would be able to share with the committee a zip code list of distribution of services at some point in time, so that we understand where the geographic locations of the people who are recipients of HEAP are?
Yes, I will see if we can get that breakdown for the HEAP program. It's an unusual program, but if I can get that, yeah, or if I
I
can
would
get.
assume Cornell would have a listing of.
Well, we
their-
do the authorizations. They only do 55%,
Oh,
so
okay.
it
I'm
comes to
sorry.
us. So if it can happen, we'll be able to do it, so.
And I'll make sure
get
that
back to you.
our staff get it out to us. Thanks a lot. Okay,
I
any
know
other
we
questions?
just
had
one
another
more, we just
statement.
had, we served 3,400 households in this last season.
3,400,
Over
okay.
7,000 people impacted.
Any other questions from me? Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Motion's made. Do I hear second? Second, Paul. Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Number 4, authorizing agreement with Hope House Inc. regarding residential treatment services to women with minor children.
Yes, this is a longer-term residential treatment program for women with children so they can stay together
Sure.
during the woman's recovery from substance abuse. This is the sole source. There's no other provider in our county that provides this service. The reimbursement is set by the state to provide comprehensive services and support to folks enrolled. And they're OASAS certified. We're just kind of the conduit for any client that's a TANF eligible person for making the payments to this provider. And that contract's up to $240,000.
$240,000. Okay. Any more questions or concerns? I hear a motion. Motion's made and second. All in favor? I hear opposition. Hearing none, it's unanimous. Thanks a lot, Michelle, for coming
Thank
down this
you.
evening.
Have a good
Yes, I
evening.
appreciate it. Michelle has warmed up the seat from the Asian department's coming, Mr. Scott Siegel. Good evening, Mr. Siegel.
Good evening, Madam Chair. How are you?
Oh, good. What a pleasure.
Been a
Okay.
while.
I know it has. Moved up to aging, we don't get to see you as often, yeah. Okay, number 5, authorizing the acceptance of a grant funding from the New York State Office for the Aging regarding the Wellness and Nutrition Grant.
Yes, ma'am. This is, in fact, all of our requests tonight are to accept funding from the state. We received our notice of grant awards for all these programs. The WIN program, Wellness and Nutrition, is formally referred to as SNAP. This funding covers our home delivered meal program.
Okay. 100% state funded. Are there any
Yeah.
questions? Any concerns? Go ahead, Paul.
I was gonna move it.
Okay, you make a motion to move. Did I hear a second? A second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Number 6, authorizing the acceptance of grant funding from the New York State Office for the Aging and entering an agreement with the Albany County Department of Social Services regarding the expansion in-home services for the elderly program, ISIP.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, just asking to accept the funding from the state to keep our ISEP program going. And there's a 25% match.
Okay. So 53% for county, 47% state for the one-year program, $1.7 million, am I right?
Yes.
Do I hear any questions? No questions, any concerns? I hear a motion. Motion's made, I hear second. Who did? Rick, you second that?
I did, yes.
Okay, it's been second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Okay, number 7, authorizing the acceptance of the grant from the New York State Office for the Aging regarding transportation for seniors and support social adult daycare programs. Mr. Siegel.
Yes, ma'am. The Community Services for the Elderly, or CSE program, that pot of funding is what we primarily use for most of our transportation services. We do have other pots of funding that you'll notice in here that also cover transportation as well, which is nice, gives us a little flexibility. We also use this funding to support the social adult daycare program.
Sounds good. Any questions? Any concerns? Do I hear a motion? Motion's made, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. And number 8, authorizing the acceptance of grant funding from the New York State Office for the Aging regarding the Congregate Services Initiative, CST.
Yes, ma'am. Congregate Services Initiative, the CSI program, there's a 25% match. This is used to supplement, a lot of times is used to supplement congregate meal settings, allows us to provide entertainment at various venues. We do RFP those services, and oddly enough, we're in the process right now of awarding those RFPs or responses that we receive. It's not a great deal of money, but I can tell you I've seen that funding in action. It goes a long way. So. And there's 25% match for that as well.
Okay. Any questions? Any concerns? Do I hear a motion? It's been motioned and second. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none is unanimous. Okay, number 9, authorizing agreement with the New York State Office for the Aging regarding the funding of the transportation services.
Thank you. Yep, this is, again, this is additional transportation funding that we receive from the state every year.
Yeah.
They use it, and couldn't explain why they do this, but they have a completely separate pot of funding that they do strictly for transportation, and that's what this is. So we generally will use this funding first before going into CSA funding, or we can also use federal money too for transportation, Title IIIB, but this, we just want to accept the $16,000 for the supplemental transportation.
Okay. Are there any questions, concerns? Do I hear a motion? Motion's made, is the second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none is unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott Siegel,
Thank
for
you all
coming
very
down.
much, appreciate it.
Come back anytime. So is Mr. Brown, Commissioner Brown on vacation, sir?
He is on vacation,
Okay.
yes, he's visiting his son.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Okay, number 10. Miss Gail is here. How you doing? Gail, now this time you're last, okay? Last time you said, am I first?
Thank you for that.
Okay. Number 10, authorize an agreement with the New York State Office of Children and Family Services and the submission of the 2017 to 2018 supervision and treatment services for juvenile program plans. Gail?
Yes, good evening, everyone. So the supervision and treatment services for juvenile program is a funding through the Office of Children and Family Services that goes towards supporting programs and services to help reduce detention and placements for our juvenile justice involved children. And so with that funding, we support programs such as JCAB, which is an alternative program to children actually having to go into detention program. It's a restorative practice where they're able to do restitution and community service as opposed to actually going into detention. We support programs such as our Family Assessment Intervention, which is facilitated by LaSalle at Family Court. And again, it's about front-end services. So when a youth is being referred over to Family Court from probation, the Family Assessment Intervention Program will meet with that youth and the families to talk about the circumstances that brought them to the juvenile justice system and to identify a plan that is then presented to the judge that hopefully will then result in that child not having to go to detention because the judge is in agreement with the plan that has been developed with that child remaining in the community with programs and services. We also support through that funding officers through our juvenile probation for girls and both boys with the Evening Reporting Center at LaSalle. Again, this is an alternative program to detention for youth. They go to this program during those hours when they're out of school, which are historically the highest hours where they're engaging in activities that get them involved with the juvenile justice system. So with having this program that they're able to attend during that 3 to 6 p.m. hours, it gives them something to do that is a positive option in regards to other behaviors that they could be engaging in. And it also provides parenting support. They actually have a parenting class that they provide along with the programming for the youth. So that just kind of summarizes what that STSJP funding is about. It's really how to be able to support programs and services as an alternative to youth having to go into detention and/or placement.
Yes, Mr. Bullock, question?
Is there a line that is drawn in the nature of the crime of the individual, whether they get into this program or not? For instance, somebody pulls the trigger and shoots somebody. Would they be eligible for this program?
More than likely not, because they're probably going to be going through another system.
Yeah, is there a dividing line here?
There are certainly different factors, depends the nature of the crime. It also depends on, the victim, if you will, also gets to have a say in regards to whether or not they want the perpetrator to be prosecuted. So there are variables and factors, but, it's certainly in those instances where there is the option to divert from placement or detention, that's what the goal is.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Do I hear a motion? Motion's made, and it's seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Oh, the final one, number 11, authorize the agreement regarding the 2017 Summer Youth Employment Program, SYEP, and amending the 2017 Department for Children, Youth, and Family Services budget. Gail.
Yes, thank you. So this is the annual Summer Youth Employment Program. We receive funding through the Office of Temporary Disabilities Administration, OTDA, and that funding is allocated to DSS. And then the local districts have the option as to whether or not they want to administer the program themselves, or if they choose to then allocate the funds to the Workforce Development Board. Albany County has historically chosen the latter, to allocate the funds to the Workforce Development Board. And so what we do is, with the total allocation, we retain a certain percentage to meet our administrative costs that is associated with our part in terms of administering the Summer Youth Employment Program. And then the remainder of the funds are allocated to the Workforce Development Board. And so it's basically linking those youth that qualify, because this funding that we receive is TANF has a TANF eligibility. So those youth that are able to secure Summer Youth Employment Programming using these funds have to meet that 200% poverty line that is established through the TANF, and it's an audited program. So if we're not in compliance with that, it does jeopardize us receiving that funding in the future. With the percentage that we retain, it goes towards our administrative costs, because we do facilitate and collaborate in terms of youth within the Ravenna, Queen, and Selkirk area, as well as the Bernards, Westerlo area, in terms of facilitating their being able to link to a Summer Youth Employment Program, as well as there is a subcontract with Cornell Cooperative Extension, as they also help to facilitate making those linkages for youth with Summer Youth Employment, as well as they facilitate a financial literacy component, because 2 years ago with this funding, there was a stipulation from OTDA in order to be able to continue to receive the funding, that those youth that participate in the Summer Youth Employment Program also have to have a financial literacy component, which makes sense as they're earning the money, teaching them some skills in regards to how to invest, save, and make good choices with the money that they're earning.
Great. We'll have a test on everything she just said, guys. Any questions? That's our commission. Yeah. These are ladies who are fellows and interns, and where are you from? Yale and New York State Association of Counties, and you're from Habitat for Humanities. That's Commissioner Gaffney. Okay. All right, and thanks for coming in to sit in. And for any more questions or concerns, do I hear a motion to adjourn? I didn't vote on the motion.
No,
I was
second.
waiting for you to do that. I got your attention. Your motion is removed. Any questions? Okay, it's unanimous. Now, motion to adjourn.
So.